Looks can be deceiving. This 14-year-old with bushy bangs is a cold-blooded killer.
Disturbing murder out of Mississippi. 15-year-old Carly Gregg has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
She fatally shot her mother in the face and tried to kill her stepfather.
There's no doubt that Carly Madison Gregg is the one who killed her mom, Ashley Smiley.
Carly Gregg is evil. That's not easy to say, but the truth of the matter is sometimes evil comes in young packages.
Prosecutors say she shot her mother, Ashley Smiley, a 40-year-old high school math teacher, in the face. Her stepfather, Heath Smiley, coming home moments later, Gregg also shooting him.
Gun went off in my face.
Frantically called 911.
Hi guys, welcome back to KW Lawholic. It's Kayla. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. If you're not, thank you for always returning. Today's case is about Ashley Nicole Smiley. She was born on April 11th, 1983 to Robert and Vicki Breland Sr. and she's 40 years old. She's from Stuart, Florida, but she lives in Brandon, Mississippi with her family. She had two daughters, her first one, Natalie Gregg, who eventually passed away as a child, and Carly Gregg, her 14-year-old that she had in her previous marriage with Kevin Gregg. She did end up getting remarried though to Heath Smiley, who was 39 years old. Ashley was a math teacher at the Northwest Rankin High School. She was gifted in mathematics, technology, and the arts. Ashley enjoyed reading as well as spending time with her family, no matter if that was from lounging around, playing video games, or taking her two dogs, Finn and Wyatt, on walks. Ashley is said to have been an amazing and wonderful wife, daughter, sister, teacher, and a friend. But most importantly, she loved being a devout mother. A quote from her family and friends reads, "Her strength and compassion throughout her life were and continue to be an inspiration to all who knew her." And her husband Heath said that when it came to Carly, she would do anything for her. She tried her best every single day to make sure Carly had the best life possible. If we get into the day of the crime, it started on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, at their Brandon home on 214 Ashton Way. The Rankin County Sheriff's Department and dispatchers had got a call from a frantic sounding individual. That individual on the phone was eventually identified to be Heath Smiley, her husband. He told dispatchers on the phone that he and his wife had been shot by their daughter.
When I opened the door to the kitchen there, gun went off in my face.
Wounded in the shoulder, he frantically called 911.
The Rankin County investigator, Zachary Cotton, along with another investigator, are the ones who mainly gave all the details of what happened, and they gave a lot. Cotton said that when deputies arrived on scene, they found a man with a gunshot wound and a lady who was dead in a bedroom. The lady was Ashley, and she had gunshot wounds to her face, while Heath, the man, had one gunshot wound to his shoulder. When they started the initial investigation with Heath and the questioning, he told them that he was shot as soon as he got home, right when he walked through the door. He told investigators that he arrived home just after 5 p.m. and when he did, he found his wife shot in Carly's room. He said that she was laying on her back with her arms over her and a towel covering her face. Heath told investigators this: "I knew that she had been shot. There was so much blood around. I'm not exactly sure where on the right side of her face." After that, he turned around. When he turned around, he had opened up the door to the kitchen. And as soon as he did that, he said a gun went off in his face. He saw it flash. He had grabbed it after the first time and twisted it away from Carly while she was still pulling the trigger. Heath told the deputies that it looked like Carly had seen a demon and that her eyes were super big and that she started screaming and ran off.
How did Carly appear to you when you walked in?
Like I said, my initial thoughts were she was terrified, scared out of her mind. I still to this day don't think she ever even recognized me. Something was wrong there. I don't know what, but something was off.
After Carly had struck her stepfather with the gunshot wound and ran off, she ran out of their residence through the backyard and hopped over a fence. Now, this is the first part of this whole investigation and story where the information will get muddy between the prosecutor's side and the defense. The investigator for the case says that Carly was found about 1.5 miles away from home and they were able to detain her and take her into custody. But on the other hand, Carly's defense team said that after she had left home, she was about 1 mile away where she flagged down a patrol car and turned herself peacefully over to law enforcement. Did they just find her and take her into custody, or did she give herself up willingly after this incident? We aren't sure. And now we can move on to after the crime. They got her into custody. She was arrested for murder and attempted murder. And her bond was originally $500,000, but that ended up changing and the judge gave her a $1 million bond. Carly had her first day at a preliminary court hearing on April 16, 2024. Investigator Zachary Cotton once again detailed what happened. He mostly detailed what had happened on the security cameras and what it caught throughout that entire incident. There were 2 cameras in the home in the kitchen area. On the camera, Carly can be seen coming into the kitchen and then sneakily looking over to the side of the hallway, eventually going in the hallway. Not too long after, we hear a gunshot, a scream, and then 2 more gunshots. Cotton said that Ashley Smiley, Carly's mother, had 3 gunshot wounds. She had 2 to her face and 1 to her chin. He also mentioned through security footage that when Carly was in the kitchen and she was hiding something behind her back, that's what he suspects was the gun, because she turned her body in a manner where she didn't show anything blatantly to the camera. It would have been right then and there where she could have gotten a weapon and used it on her mother. The gun she ended up using did belong to her mother, and it was a gun that her mom kept hidden under her bed. After Carly had returned from the hallway in the room from the gunshots back to the kitchen, she sat down, still in a way where hiding something behind her back, and she grabbed her mother's cell phone. When she grabbed her mother's cell phone, she decided to text her stepfather, pretending to be her mom. She texted her stepfather, Heath, "When will you be home, honey?" Investigator Cotton said that it was about 45 to 50 minutes before Heath actually returned home and was on scene. And in the meantime, what Carly did left investigators and the jury just shook. Carly had texted one of her friends and told them that she needed them to come over and that it was an emergency. When this friend arrived, whose name we don't have because they are a minor, she asked them if they had ever seen a dead body. And when they told her no, she said, "My mom is in there." And she proceeded to show her friend her mom's deceased body inside of the bedroom. She also showed her friend the gun she used to kill her mother. And she told her friend, "I had 3 shots for my mom, and I have 3 more shots for my stepdad." After that, Heath eventually returned home, and the friend was in the backyard of the house. The friend was also in the backyard of the house throughout the whole ordeal of Heath being shot and shot at. One of the last things Investigator Cotton reported during his testimony was that Carly was on medication for her mental health problems. She was on the prescription medication called Lexapro leading up to the murder. So let's take a small recap. Ashley Smiley, she's a teacher, she's a mom, she's a wife. She's home with her daughter one day after they come back from school, and her daughter ends up shooting her. Her daughter shoots her, she's dead. She texts the stepfather asking him when he'll be home, posing as her mother. She invites a friend over to see her mother's dead body in the house, showing it off in a way. And then when the stepfather gets there, she does what she says and she shoots at him as well. And then she takes off. So now we're going to get into her sentencing and her trial. Her trial was only a week long, so it was pretty speedy. Prior to Carly's trial, she was offered a plea agreement and a plea deal of 40 years in prison, but they turned that down. Her defense team wanted to take a guilty plea of insanity. So basically saying she's not guilty and that it was mental health issues. I'm gonna go through both sides. So first I'm going to go with the prosecution side, and then I'm going to transfer over to her defense team. Basically trying to say, one, she's a killer, one, she's crazy. Starting with the prosecutors said that Carly knew what she was doing. They say that on the day she killed her mother, it was because her friend had revealed a secret of hers to her mom. That secret was Carly's secret life with drugs. During the opening statements of her trial, the Rankin County Assistant Attorney Catherine Newman stated, and I quote this, "From the testimony of a friend, he was so worried about Carly's use of smoking marijuana, so worried about her being high. He felt compelled to tell Mrs. Ashley Smiley also about her just even having secret boyfriends and people that just weren't appropriate for her age." The prosecutors presented that Ashley Smiley had searched Carly's room and found vape pens moments before she was shot and killed. The prosecutors also presented a journal of Carly's in court to prove that she knew what she was doing. In her journal, Carly kept a written list of 5 beliefs that she had. She told in her journal that there was no God, it's okay to be evil, and that you don't need a family. When the journal was evaluated by a forensic psychiatrist, they in turn gave back the results that it was very highly concerning. During their closing statements on the last day of her trial, State Attorney Michael Smith stated that Carly knew the difference between right and wrong. Some of his last statements to the court were this, and I quote, "There is no doubt that Carly Madison Gregg is the one who killed her mom, Ashley Smiley. There's no doubt that she attempted to kill Heath Smiley when she aimed the gun right at his head and shot him and hit his shoulder. And there is no doubt that she's the one who hid the camera, tampering with evidence."
No doubt that Carly Madison Gregg is the one who killed her mom, Ashley Smiley. There's no doubt that she attempted to kill Heath Smiley when she aimed the gun right at his head and shot and hit him in the shoulder. And there's no doubt that she's the one who hid the camera, thus tampering with evidence in the refrigerator. And we would ask you that you go back there and you find her guilty of all 3 because she was not insane at the time that this happened. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew the difference between right and wrong.
Those were his last closing statements to the jury. But now we can move on to the other side. Carly's defense team stated that this was a child who needed help. They presented that Carly had no criminal record and no history of violence. They told the court how she was student of the month and that she was on honor roll before any of this happened. Her attorney had asked that she even have a reduced bond because she was a well-behaved child and she was an exceptional kid, and that also she had no prior arrests. She's a child. She doesn't have the means to even afford a bond. She has no assets. She has no money. She was 14 at the time of the crime and she's 15 now in court. Her defense team stated this to the jury. She skipped the 3rd grade. So while she is now a sophomore at the Northwest Rankin High School, she should be, according to her age, in the 9th grade. Her attorney told them that so that they can understand her mental standing. He also said that it would be ordered that she would have to have a mental evaluation to prove to the jury and the court that she wasn't in her right mind. When it came to the journals that were found, her defense team used it to paint a picture of a child who was mentally unwell. They urged the jury to find her not guilty because of insanity.
Noticed that Carly was experiencing memory lapses in the fall of 2023. It was bizarre. And while she was having a state of psychosis and an episode of acute stress on March 19th, she lost herself in what was the perfect storm. I am asking you for those reasons to please find Carly Gregg not guilty by reason of insanity and finally quell this storm for Carly and her family.
These are the last 2 statements that really stuck out to me that her attorneys told the jury. And I quote, "This was not a bad kid. This was not a kid who was enraged. This is not a kid who had hatred in her heart for her mother or her stepfather. In fact, it was the opposite. This was a kid who was experiencing significant mental health issues. The same mental health issues that ran in her family that we know are hereditary. This is a kid who was compliant with the medication she was put on. However, that medication, without being able to tell beforehand, caused her symptoms to worsen. And while she was having a state of psychosis, is an episode of acute stress on March 19th, she lost herself in what was the perfect storm. One of the judges overseeing the case, Judge David Murrow, said he found probable cause in this case. He said in testimony, "I do believe that Miss Gregg does pose a special danger to others. The heinous nature of the crime, the premeditation that seems to have been involved here is pronounced. It's severe, and it does concern me that there is a danger to the community. Whether there's a mental component to this or not, I think anybody can argue that to kill another human being, there is going to be a mental component involved." Throughout her trial, they did have experts come and testify on the behalf of the prosecution and the defense. One of the experts testified that Carly was competent. She understood what she was doing. She was competent enough to stand trial, and that she doesn't meet the state's requirements for an insanity plea at all. This was very contradictory to another psychiatrist who came and evaluated her and said that she didn't remember shooting her mom. So what's going on here?
Which hand did you shoot with?
The jurors were shown a disturbing diary entry written by Carly that went, "You don't need family. It's okay to be evil."
Did she know what she did? Does she remember? Is she lying? Is she just putting on a face and a facade because she got caught? Who knows? Regardless, the judge overseeing the case, Judge Dewey Arthur, he read the results from the jury. And on Friday, September 20th, 2024, Carly Madison Gregg was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. They had found the now 15-year-old guilty of the 3 charges: murdering her mom, attempted murder of her stepfather, and tampering with evidence.
To the jury is count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg.
Despite all of this and the entire incident, Heath and Carly, said by Heath, he says that they still have a good relationship. He said when he was on trial and on stand that he thinks Carly just shot at him because maybe she thought that he was an intruder. There have also been some alleged theories that the media is proposing of what could have happened. People are saying all types of things, from maybe she had a secret relationship with her stepfather and was jealous of her mother, tried to get rid of her, and just in the anger of the whole situation, or maybe they're in cahoots together. He only did have 1 shot to the shoulder, and the shot he got was a flesh wound. The reason people are coming up with these theories that maybe they had an inappropriate relationship is because of the behavior from Heath. They exchanged different types of smiles and looks that just kind of left everyone who saw it with the awkward, uncomfortable, and overall creepy feeling. During her trial, Carly did not show any regard or emotion towards her mother. Even when they had her in custody, she only asked, "Is my stepfather okay? Is he okay?" Nothing about her mother. Not even is it possible for her to be saved? Was she breathing at all? Nothing. And during the trial, it was the same thing. Not a drop or tear until they told her that they found her guilty and gave her her sentencing. That was the first time she showed any emotion. Others are also proposing that maybe he's just protecting her. Maybe that's the last connection and line he has to his wife that he loved dearly. I do want to share what her biological father, Kevin Gregg, said in an interview. Her father said that Carly knew what she was doing. He knows his daughter, and he knew that she knows right from wrong, and that whatever she did, she planned it out. He had shared that their daughter had suffered from auditory hallucinations, and they had put her in horse therapy. That's basically when you ride horses to help with your mental health issues.
And I would love to have tried to help her the best I could. I kept screaming in my head, why couldn't you just have called me? We had really enjoyed ourselves, and she was a wonderful child, and she was obviously multi-talented, gifted. We loved each other. We loved that girl. That girl knew right from wrong. That girl is not insane. That was a very dumb defense, if you ask me. But I wasn't involved. Nobody.
Her defense tried to say that he didn't cooperate on any levels. He didn't listen to them. He didn't take their calls. He didn't come to her trial, any of her hearings, nothing of the sort. His answer to that was that he didn't know any of this was happening until after it was already well through happening and almost finished. I want to cover another part of what her stepfather said. He said that she saw a demon. I think she was the demon in that moment. I personally want to know how this case would have ended if she was successful in murdering both of them. It would have really only been her word against 2 people who are deceased. And who knows what she could have said. She could have said, oh, they abused her. mother. She had to protect herself, and that's why she shot both of them. There's so many things she could have used, and I just really wonder what would have been this case if they both were dead. Would have she been walking free, smiles on her face, not having to deal with any of this? I will say though, I don't think I agree with the life sentence and no chance of parole. She is a child, regardless of how heinous, premeditated the crime could have been, mental problems catering to it or not. She is still a child. And we know children's brains still aren't fully developed at this time at all. I would have said maybe 20 to 25 years with the chance of parole, to see if they can evaluate her, to really see, is she still a crazy killer, or does she show some remorse, some regret from what she did? Because she will be the one that has to live without a mother, and it was at her hands. But regardless, I want to give my condolences to Ashley's family, her sibling, her parents, her friends, her students for losing a teacher, her husband for losing a wife, and Carly for still losing her mother. I want to give condolences for them. I hope that they are able to deal with this very intricate and tricky situation to the best of their abilities. Because me personally, I don't know how I would handle or get through this situation. So I'm just offering them love and prayers and just some peace. So thank you guys for listening to this case. I do want to hear your thoughts and comments. Please feel free to drop them down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends, your family, so that we can get awareness for cases and crimes like this more out into the world.